We'll just do quick introductions. My name's Graham Christensen. I'm a senior support engineer with the Level 3 support team based here in Australia. I specialise as a database administrator. I've been supporting the database side of the application for 15 years, starting with Captura in the TowerSoft office in Canberra and moving through the various incarnations of the application and companies that have owned it. Okay, the object of this session. In this session, we'll discuss some tuning tips and tricks with using Content Manager 10 and SQL Server 2019. The intent here is to provide some high-level pointers. There won't be time today to discuss complex customer-specific performance issues you may have come across. For those, we recommend raising a support case for deeper investigation. Please note, with any data changes you do in your production database, make sure a backup is done first. Okay, SQL tuning. I'll give a quick demo based on a timeout. So the timeout is the command you set in Enterprise Studio. We'll call it TES for this session. For the SQL generated by the CM search, it will terminate the SQL statement on the database after a set period of time. The Content Manager admins would typically get an email or a call from a user informing them of the timeout. To click the SQL, you'll need to review the workgroup server logs. The execution plan is a graphical display of the SQL statement. The Database Tuning Advisor, commonly known as the DTA, is a tool to help tune the SQL statements. So we'll just jump out of the slideshow for a minute and come into the demo. So up here, typically I've got a chunk out of the workgroup server log that's telling me I've got a timeout issue. So as you can see, it's just it goes through. This is the time the SQL took to run before it was timed out, which will match the time in tiers. It'll give you a bit of detail on who ran it, the server they ran it on, etc. The type of search they were running, and the filters and so forth, and the select statement itself. So just quickly go through the timeout first. The timeout command is set in tiers under the properties of the data sets, under the connection tab. And here's the command timeout. I've set this on rather low just for the sake of the demo. So the default is -1, and if you set it to 0, your SQLs are never going to time out on the database, which is not really a great idea. There's a bit of help, information in the help file about the different settings that you can have. Scroll down here, and it'll just again tell you that the default is -1, which equals 30 seconds, and again 0 means it will not time out. Then just change the settings by typing in whatever you like. I'd be a bit worried if you're running your workgroup servers at 300, because then you've really got a problem, I think, if your performance is that bad. But anyway, we'll carry on. So what I've done here is I've taken the SQL from out of here and just put a bit of format to it. And the first thing I would recommend doing is that you jump back into tiers and you look at doing a schema check, just to make sure that all the database objects are as they should be. There may be an issue with an index or something like that, and running the schema check may find it and help you diagnose the issue from there. But Ethan will go on about this. We'll talk about the schema check a little bit further down the line. So working with the DBA, the first thing to do, if you can't fix it via the schema check, is just to run this SQL with the actual execution plan ticked. So if I run this query, it will take a wee bit of time, we know, because it's going to time out. So we can see it ticking away down here. And once that comes back, I'll be able to review the execution plan. Okay, it's still taking a bit of time there. Okay. Right, so it took 20 seconds to run, and it only returned 91 rows, which is pretty poor, really. So when I look at the execution plan, this will give me the query itself, and here's the graphical display of what's happening here. So what I can see is that it's actually doing a full scan across the primary key on the table, which is the URIs, then a quick filter and a sort, and then the select itself is coming up. But lo and behold, it's given me a hint here. It's telling me that I'm missing an index, and it says, well, you can go through and create this index, and it'll help this particular SQL with it, and that's quite a high impact as well. So what I can do here is I can just right-click here. I can either save the execution plan and put it in as part of the information if I want to raise a support case. But if you're working with the DBA and you see this, the logic tells you that you're probably better off trying to create this index first and then seeing if it helps before sending it to us. So if I go to missing index details, it'll put that index into a new screen for me, give me a little bit of detail about it, and it'll tell me what database I want to use, and it'll tell me what it's actually doing. But it will give this here, this is where the name should go. So you need to give this a meaningful name. So I know that it's a date range search, so I'll just call this date range. Then I can have a look, and it's on the TS record table, and it's going to use these particular columns to search for and include these ones as well. So if I go and create that, and then I can go back and then run my select statement, it should be a bit quicker. But I just want to show you another way of doing tuning. Sometimes you don't get the luck of this particular saying missing index and what have you coming up. It might not give you anything. So therefore, you're better off using the tuning advisor. And that. So if you right click on here, and it says here, analyze query in database engine tuning advisor. So it's a separate tool, but it comes part of the base install of SQL Server. So if I click on that, and now it'll open up the tool, and it'll give me a few options here. I can give it a meaningful name, but at this stage I'm not too worried about that. The database which I want to do the tuning in, and what have you, and it's all connected. So all I need to do is start analysis, and it'll just go through and look at the particular select statement and work out what the best way forward is to tune this particular query. Depending on the size of the query too, it might take a little while. But here we are, it's come back, and it's actually, again, it's prompted me that it wants to put an index on the thing and a couple of statistics for that particular index. And again, it's going to give me an improvement of 75%. So I can either save this information and run it again at a later date, or I can go to actions and I can apply the recommendations directly to my database. But again, it's giving this really, really big, long, crazy name. And that's, so you'd probably want to rename it before you actually put it into your database, otherwise it'll look a bit, how's your father? So the idea is that give them a name that's different to our naming convention so that it does particularly stand out if you need to go back and do some work with it. But what we'll do is we'll accept this one here. So we'll create this index here. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, incorrect syntax, yeah. All right, yeah. Okay, it's already there, okay. So now I should see an improvement when I run this particular query. I've still got the actual execution plan to show. So we'll see how quickly this runs. Again, this is a demo. I'd expect to see slightly better, but it's 100% better than what it was. So I'll go to the execution plan again, and you'll notice a subtle change. Now it's hitting the index which we created instead of the primary key index, but it's still doing the same information across here. That's it. So yeah, that's the two tools in a nutshell. It's worth working with your DBAs in the first instance. I'll reiterate this as we go, and see if you can tune the SQL directly from using these two tools. There's other tools on the market which a lot of DBAs like to use, like Toad and SQL Developer for Oracle and so forth. They all have similar tools and will achieve the same results in that. So, thank you for watching.